All right, I just recorded a video and it was over 5 minutes and I wasn't done. So I'm going to try to do this really quickly. I started with the baby saying wah. Page 6 talks about earliest vocalizations are simply the involuntary crying when a baby's hungry or uncomfortable. Then I've got a baby saying goo goo gaga and the parent oohing and awing because on page 6 it also says we soon hear the cooing and gurgling sounds of contented babies. This child is listening with big giant ears as the mom says, "Mommy, mommy." And we hear our page 6 auditory discrimination. They can hear the difference between similar sounds. Then we go over here where the baby starts to repeat some sounds they've been hearing and the mommy's all excited. And page 6 also says it'll be many months before their own vocalizations begin to reflect the characteristics of the languages they hear. And this baby is saying no. Page 9 says negation stage 1 is usually expressed by no. This baby is making some words. I even included cat because both of my children had cat as one of their first words, if not their first. And this is from page 6. It says at 12 months, most babies will have begun to produce a word or two that everyone recognizes. Over here, this child is using daddy and no together. Page 9 says negation stage 2, so the subject may be included. This baby is saying me go bye-bye, and this includes page 7, where they're using telegraphic speech because parts are left out. Page 11 talks about questions with question stage 1, simple 2 to 3 word sentences with rising intonation. And by age 2, most children will reliably produce at least 50 different words, combining words into simple sentences. And this child is saying I can't because they can't stack the blocks. They're missing some words. That's negation stage 3. From page 9, the negative element is inserted into a more complex sentence, usually including can't and don't. And then this last one, the children are sitting on a carpet. There's a board here. They're at school. It says cat. And there's a picture of a cat. Page 13, sorry about the bell, talks about seeing words represented by letters and other symbols on a page, and it leads children to a new understanding that language has form as well as meaning. Over here, I've got my different theories. The behaviorism theory. Children imitate and practice. They get positive reinforcement. Quality and quantity plus reinforcement shape language. Behavior environment is huge. It explains how children learn regular and routine parts of language. The innatist perspective talks about human languages are based on some innate universal principles. We're biologically programmed. They said that the behaviorism theory lacked explanation to how children learn more than expected when we mess up and we make mistakes, and yet they still learn to more or less perfect language. The complex cannot be learned through practice. And it says it develops like other biological functions, which I thought was similar to what the interactionist development perspective says, that it's similar and related to other skill acquisitions. But they said that the innatists spent too much on the final state, not enough on development, not specific brain structures for acquisition. We just learn based on our environment, just like the behaviorism theory says. And they also said the interaction between the child and things that can be observed and manipulated in language equals the knowledge children acquire through environment and social interaction, which is like the behaviorism theory. But then I thought this was interesting on page 27 when they talked about the Kaluli and Papua New Guinea, where there actually wasn't social interaction, but they still learned. And then they talked about Jim and how he didn't have I don't know if I say this word right, but interlocutor. And so he didn't develop quite the same by just watching TV as he would have with interacting with somebody, but then his little brother developed because he had his older brother. And then this is where Deb Roy fell in, that we got to watch a video of. Cognitive linguistics depends on child's learning and abilities and environment. So these two really focused on the environment. But I had a couple questions. So in the native perspective, how do you explain kids who still don't know, even after, I forget that question. But how do you explain siblings learning at different rates if it's all about the environment? I know that there was the little bit about language delay, but if we all learn based on our environment, what about the kids that have the exact same environment, but they learn differently and they're not necessarily delayed, they just pick things up differently? That was my big question, and I think that is the end of my video.